All right, so you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Today we're going deep into Surah Al-Ghashiyah from the Quran.
Okay.
And this surah, it's all about Judgment Day, like the big one.
Yeah.
And it's heavy stuff. I mean, it's intense. It describes, paradise.
Right.
And like the flip side, like the total opposite, punishment. And the way it describes both, like, I don't know, it's just, it's something else.
Yeah. The imagery that's used in the surah is really powerful. It's meant to evoke like a visceral reaction from the reader.
For sure. And that's what I'm like so fascinated by.
Yeah.
Like the way it lays out these two totally different fates, So let's jump right in. The very first verse mentions the overwhelming. What exactly are we talking about here?
Okay, so the overwhelming in this context refers to Judgment Day itself. This incredibly significant event that, well, kind of overshadows everything else. It's like, think of it as hitting the cosmic reset button, like wiping the slate clean. The surah is using this term to emphasize just how massive what's happening is.
Wow. Okay. A cosmic reset button. Yeah, that definitely gets the point across.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, we immediately see these two groups of people, and their fates are just so drastically different. Like it goes from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, and the surah doesn't shy away from describing what happens to those who are punished. Like, not at all.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's really stark. You've got shame, you've got exhaustion, and then the fire, right? Burning fire. And there's even this spring, but it's made of flames.
Oh, wow.
And on top of all that, there are these thorns that provide zero nourishment. It's like the suffering is amplified. The surah uses this visceral imagery to, well, I guess to drive the point home.
Yeah, it's definitely effective. You can't ignore it, that's for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so then you have this other side, right? This description of paradise, which is the total opposite of everything we just talked about. And it's not just like, oh, paradise is good. It gets specific. It talks about gardens, flowing springs, even raised beds. Like, can you imagine lounging around on these raised beds?
Right. It's about abundance, comfort, everything that the other group is lacking. It's like the surah is saying, look, this is what you're missing out on. And the details, they make paradise seem real, attainable.
Totally. It's almost like it wants us to feel the difference between these two destinies, Okay, but then the surah shifts gears. Like it goes from these super intense descriptions to talking about, camels, the sky, mountains, the earth.
It's an interesting transition, right? And it kind of highlights a key aspect of Islam, which is reflection.
Okay.
So the surah is like encouraging us to observe the natural world, see its wonders, because all of that is a sign of God's power.
Right. It's like saying, look around, the evidence is everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about it. The vastness of the sky, the intricate design of a camel, it's all pointing to something much bigger than ourselves.
And that brings us to the verses about the Prophet Muhammad, right?
Yeah.
And his role.
Yes. So it's made clear that his job is to be a reminder, to deliver the message, but not to force anyone, because ultimately each person has a choice.
Right. Free will, which is like a cornerstone of Islam, isn't it?
Absolutely. The Prophet can guide, he can warn, but he can't decide for anyone. It's powerful because it emphasizes personal accountability, especially when you consider what we were just talking about with Judgment Day.
Totally. Okay, so we've got these vivid descriptions, these contrasts, paradise, punishment, this call to reflect, and then like the importance of the choices we make. And then it ends. The surah ends by talking about, well, the ultimate punishment for disbelief. It talks about returning to Allah and facing that final reckoning.
It's a full circle moment. Back to the overwhelming. Judgment Day is inescapable. It's like the surah is driving home the gravity of everything that's been discussed.
So there's no sugarcoating it.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. The descriptions of paradise and hell, this idea of reflection, and then, the weight of our choices. What do you think? What stands out to you the most from all of this?
Well, I think the emphasis on individual choice is really powerful. It's a reminder that we have agency, that our actions have consequences, and that's something that resonates across cultures and beliefs, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I think it ties in beautifully with the surah's call to reflect on the natural world. Because when we look around and see the complexity, the order, the beauty of creation, it does make you think about your place in all of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, it pushes us to make choices that align with something bigger than ourselves. Something to think about.
It's definitely something to think about.
All right. Well, thanks for diving in with me today.
It's been a pleasure.
This has been really fascinating.
Yeah, it has.
And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us on another deep dive. Until next time.
See you then.